All right, welcome to the Dr. Josh Ack Show. Today we're going to be talking about air quality. Did you know that you ingest around 11,000 liters of air per day? And if that air is toxic, well, then that's affecting your body. It's affecting your detoxification channels, your liver, your hormones. And so we want to do everything we can to breathe in good quality air. And today I've brought on my friend, Mike Feldstein. He's the founder of Jasper. He is an expert in air quality. And today we're going to be talking about how to support your respiratory health. We're going to talk about how to detox your environment, your home, your body, and a whole lot more. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yo, thanks for having me, man. And then the intention today, because we did a podcast 11 months ago, like almost this week. Yeah. So that was sort of Air 101. And we'll cover some of that again for the folks who missed out on last year. And then we'll dive into some more deeper nuanced stuff. And there's been so many new discoveries this year that we can jump into.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, one thing I'll start off sharing, Mike, we were just talking before we started filming about, I'm in the middle of a move. We ended up moving houses here this week. And the week before, we and my daughter sleep in a different bedroom. And we actually recently did an allergy test because she's had swollen tonsils. And we've been trying to figure out what's causing this. We thought, well, maybe it must be seasonal allergies. And so finally we went and we did some blood work, which we don't like doing on a 5-year-old, but it was just very minimal in order to find out what seasonal allergies she might have. And when we got the report back, we were really surprised to find out she doesn't have any seasonal allergies. And we thought because we were living between Puerto Rico and Nashville, maybe she didn't build up her immunity to pollen. Maybe that was the issue because she's had these swollen tonsils last spring and last fall, spring, and this fall. And it comes to find out that she's allergic to only one thing, and it's dust mites. And so we went through our entire house and read, what do you do for dust mites? And we started steam vacuuming everything. We started clearing it out. And then we have 3 Jasper air filters. We put one in her bedroom and just put them throughout the house, cleaned out the filters. And we've already done this somewhat, but we really did everything we could. And then her symptoms just really started melting away. Now, we did some supplements too. We've got this great homeopathic we're using. And there's actually something called slit therapy, sublingual immunotherapy, where you can do these allergy drops under the tongue. They're completely natural, homeopathic, and it will help cure allergies over time by building up a tolerance, which is pretty amazing. But all that being said, you know, we didn't realize, like, we're regularly cleaning our air filters, our house. There's still a lot of dust and pollen there. But again, we broke out the big guns and the Jasper air filters to help clean out the house. But yeah, dust mites were...
I'm going to send you guys some new filters.
Okay.
So get this. Even when we see a filter that's completely perfect to the eye, vacuum it, clean it, versus a new filter, and what we actually do is we weigh them. So no matter how thoroughly we clean it, it's always still going to be like a pound or more than another one because it's so deep in the pleats, the particulate that it picks up, and the carbon is completely spent after absorbing everything. Typically, when we put a new filter in, it's almost doubling the airflow, if not tripling.
Wow.
So a lot of people look at it, they see 2 filters to the human eye that looks clean, but then when you measure the airflow and you weigh the filters, you realize it's a huge difference. So a new filter, really, like, when I think about Jasper, I don't think about the machine that you see on the outside. I think about the filter. And the machine is just the housing that allows air to move through the filter.
Yeah, well, when we're talking about air quality and air filters, and we can start here a little bit and get into some other things, but what is the mechanism or the components that are actually purifying the air?
Yeah, it's really simple. So, and there's a reason we call Jasper an air scrubber. We've completely moved off purification because it's really not accurate. So I'll start by saying what the difference is between a scrubber and a purifier. It's pretty much the difference between a Yukon Denali and a Honda Civic. They're both cars, they're both vehicles, but one is way bigger. It's designed to take the kids, take the stuff, be safe, and look good while doing it. They both have wheels and doors and roofs and GPS systems, but they're completely different class of vehicle. So when I was doing mold remediation, hurricanes, floods, huge disaster cleanup, we would use air scrubbers. So essentially, a scrubber is an industrial grade air purifier. So they both fundamentally are the same. There's a mechanical filter, air passes through, it lets the air through, and it takes out all the dust mites, the mold, the bacteria, the viruses, etc. And then there's carbon in there, which absorbs odors and gases and VOCs. So the difference between a scrubber and a purifier, when you see like a little purifier on the shelf and it says covers 1,000 square feet, purification is only going for an incremental gain of 10 or 20%. They're not really cleaning the air that much. The filter's fine, but it's such a small machine that it's not designed to clean a big room. With a scrubber, you're trying to get the air 90-95% cleaner. So you're talking like 10% cleaner versus 95% cleaner. So when scrubbing, we're just at a completely different class of product.
Yeah, and carbon for everybody. This carbon is essentially the compound you're going to find in activated charcoal or activated carbon. Very same thing, binds to almost everything.
Filters water, filters air.
Yeah, incredibly beneficial for getting rid of nearly everything in your environment. It's powerful. So anyways, we've already seen a change in my daughter, just amazing that quickly when you get air filtration right and get rid of the exposure.
And you only have dust mites if you have dust, and you only have dust if you have not that clean air.
Yeah.
You should not really have dust.
Well, like even for us, so what happened is we have an air filter going in her bedroom most of the time, but as we were moving out, we had wallpaper on one of the walls because she wanted this purple dinosaur wallpaper that she chose. So we had to have them come in right before we moved out and just paint that one wall. Well, we didn't want her sleeping in that room. This is 2 days before we moved out because the paint fumes. So we ended up just shutting off the door, opening the window, and just leaving it closed off. So she slept in a bedroom that we actually just haven't even been in, And so when she went in this bedroom and slept in there, we realized, well, that didn't have air filtration going. That didn't. There was probably a lot of dust in there that accumulated in there. So that's what happened. But anyways, I'm so grateful to have friends like you and also have the background myself to be able to know, hey, here's how we remedy this really quickly. I'll say something else that's amazing. This slit therapy, I have a friend, his name is Dr. Gazzagoli. He's been on the show, and he's been allergic to cats all his life. He's not allergic to cats anymore. I mean, so these are really advanced forms of actual, these allergy, again, it's called slit therapy, and they will take whatever you're allergic to, and then they create a homeopathic with it in terms of the exposure, and then you just do a drop under the tongue twice daily, and over the course of 90 days, you'll see a significant improvement. And typically over 2 years, you're completely cured of whatever you're allergic to. Like whenever I've done any sort of food panels, I'm always allergic to one thing and almost one thing only, and it's dairy. And so I'm going to actually start doing this myself to see if I can cure my dairy allergy. But, I guess part of what I wanted to say here is like there are so many things that people are exposed to that sort of add up on the body. You've got foods you're allergic to. Almost everybody has a few foods they're allergic to. People can be allergic to dust, I know in Nashville and a lot of areas of the country, people have major seasonal allergies. There's chemicals, there's toxins, there's mold. And oftentimes the body can handle 1, 2, 3 of those things. But just all of those things constantly together for most people just overburdens the system where they just can't deal with it 24 hours a day. And one of the great things about when you can clean your air, get clean air, is you're just removing so much of the burden. And this is really important for people with infections, right? Chronic infections.
Yeah, I changed the word sleep to healing time a few years ago. And it's funny, I get a lot more of it now because the word sleep, like whether it's an alarm clock or on a product, it turns off the lights, it turns down the fan speed. It's generally like a very dormant state. And as someone who likes to get things done and move, sleep feels dormant, whereas healing time to me feels much more exciting. I can get like if I'm sick or if I'm working out, most of my recovery happens overnight during healing time. So like just reframing that and then starting to turn my bedroom into a sleep sanctuary or a healing sanctuary. It's I find that people generally are really misallocating resources. Like to buy a $2 million home and then have a $2,000 bed in it. Like, what was the point of the home in the first place?
It's true. Give me a $2,000 home with a $20,000 bed because you'll have energy every day. That's a great point.
So like, it's so easy, the way the banks work and mortgages, and people could justify like a $25,000 bathroom reno because they think it's good for value. I'm like, the best value ever is going to be what was your home for in the first place? Roof over your head. Clean air, clean water. Just if you and your family can have a world-class sleep every night and recover together and then have a nice place to spend time together and breathe easy, see some trees, open some windows, like what is the point of the home? And people get into these couple $1 million homes easily that have so many rooms they don't sit in and bathrooms they don't use, and they have cheap beds, bad lighting, poor HVAC, and bad water filtration. I'm like, spend 1.9 instead of 2, or spend 950,000 instead of $1 million, and put those dollars to work into things that are going to compound positively for your health immediately. It's just it's an investment situation.
You know, when Chelsea and I, we've lived in Nashville for years. One year we moved to West Palm Beach for for part of the year, and then we lived between Nashville and Puerto Rico for up until a year ago for 3 years. And we weren't allowed. We owned in Puerto Rico. We rented here, and our rental here, we decided to rent it because they had installed. It was a newer home. They had great filtration, and they had a whole house water filtration. It was really nice, like a really high upgraded one. And that was part of the reason we chose the neighborhood. And then right now, we're working on building a home. It's funny. I was 3 weeks ago, I was in London speaking, and then Ben Greenfield was there. So he just got done building out this amazing compound, and he really thought about his air filtration. He really was very thoughtful about their water filtration. He had somebody go through looking for EMFs, and so there's almost no EMF signals in the entire house or property. So I was talking to Ben because he was sharing the people he's hiring and working with, because we're going to do the very same thing, to where it's like, if we're going to spend this money building like dream home and farm that we're doing, we really want it to be as pure and clean as possible. Because I've known so many people that have gone and built these really nice high-end homes and bought them in California and Florida on the beach, and then they have mold. I've seen it with mold probably more than anything.
Yes. So a couple things on that. But when you're building a home from scratch, the actual cost differences to build a clean air sanctuary and just a healthy home, no EMFs, like everything that Ben did, it doesn't cost that much more money. I mean, Ben built himself a very large compound home. So yes, that's a thing. But generally, like the healthy decisions and the better materials, the only cost is thoughtfulness and care. It's just like the HVAC system is the lungs of your home. And a lot of builders, most builders, it's the last thing they even think about. So they're kind of like looking at like the square footage, the plan, maybe the angle that the sun's coming in, but they're really neglecting the materials that they're using. They're really neglecting the whole point of the home is for a family to live there happily and comfortably and thrive. And, you know, yeah, Ben actually talked about this too. Just if you're going to spend 90 or 95% of your time indoors, you might as well make your home as close to nature as possible, but like thermally comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what you want to do. And since 73, really, energy crisis, all the building codes have pushed people to build homes tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, keep everything trapped in and you can now very easily have both. You can have great ventilation and clean air. So
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, so it's like we've allowed this, you know, they've gotten more insulation and got it to where, hey, maybe it's heated and cooled more cost effectively, but you're also letting less toxins out of your home. I mean, the average indoor air quality, and you know this as well as anybody, you've quoted this, you know, significantly, but I mean, it's 2 to 5 times more toxic at least.
We test in Austin. So everyone who ever buys a Jasper in Austin, we hand deliver it, and then we test their home and we take away the packaging. So we're able to, it gets us a lot of reps of how dirty people's air is. Yeah. And 10 plus times dirtier is very common too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, your indoor air quality can be 10 times more toxic than just stepping outside.
And so the thing is, actually building homes really tight is fine. The cool thing is you can put something called an ERV or an HRV on your home. Energy recovery ventilator is what most parts of the country need. The really cold places would use a HRV, but ERV generally, energy recovery ventilator. What that does is it allows the airflow. It basically works as a fresh air intake, but you can filter the air on the intake. So let's say it's really bad allergies or wildfire smoke. The cool thing is then your home's getting a lot of fresh air, but it's coming through the path of least resistance because you have a fan there. So the air is coming through, because right now the air in your home is coming through attics, cracks, vents, doors. It's just coming through everywhere. But when you have a active fan and you build a tight home, you're controlling the inlet of air and you filter it as it's coming in. So, and then because it has a little core in there, it heats and cools the air to your indoor temperature. So you get the best of both worlds. It doesn't cost much to heat and cool your home, and you get a lot of fresh air, and that fresh air is filtered. So that one little machine and a little bit of thoughtfulness is going to it's transformative.
Yeah. I think more and more people are becoming conscious of this, but not near as many as I thought would be, because it's like, if you're going to build a new home, Yeah, you obviously don't want to risk having mold. You obviously want to have clean air. You want to have clean water. These things are really important. I had a friend recently reach out. He's an amazing guy, by the way, and he owns a really successful natural health company, and he lives in Malibu. And he discovered just rampant mold throughout their entire house. And so he's incredibly ill. His wife's incredibly ill. But he said he thinks the thing that made it even worse was he stayed around during the wildfires in the area. So you have all of the smoke, and then you have the mold issue on top of it.
I went to LA after the fire in February to test a lot of homes, and I'm going to go again this coming February, like a 1-year anniversary, and test soil and test air and see what's going on. That fire was really one of a kind. It was kind of like the fire that I did in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada in 2016, where thousands of homes burnt. Because the normal playbook for fires is like a kitchen fire, dryer vent. On a smoke damage situation, we're usually calibrated for tree smoke, a wildfire. But when 10,000 homes burn and 10,000 cars burn, and 2,000 of those cars were Teslas, what happens when you burn 2,000 lithium batteries?
Oh, it's way more toxic.
Yeah, so my gut and heart tells me that it's going to be so much worse than people think. Because I followed fires before, and even a year, 2 years later, and then you start tracking the health. It's like the 9/11 thing, like how many people got sick near ground zero years later. It could be nothing. What LA has for it is those coastal winds really are acting as nature's air filter by taking it all out. But when you have that many cars and chemicals and homes that burn, this is not regular wildfire smoke we're talking about here.
That's crazy. I recently talked to a mold expert, and they told me that actually Malibu in particular in that area in California is one of the worst areas for mold in the whole country. And I would have thought the same thing, because obviously the humidity is lower in California. And outside of living in Tennessee, the state I've lived in the most outside of where I grew up in Ohio is Florida. I've been at Florida. My parents live in Florida. My brother lives in Florida. I went to school in Florida. We've been there a lot. And so there are major mold issues for people that live in Florida. It's probably the worst state. But I have heard that certain areas of California, like Malibu, are pretty bad. And maybe it's due to when the homes were built or a number of things, or even the way they were built. But
Florida's got to be worse.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's worse.
So let's teach people some things.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the thing that I have most recently been obsessed over, and it's almost tipped over to like passionately angry, which is not a state that I typically get in very often. But get this, and I know you talk a lot about fragrances and synthetic fragrances. So I think that there's a good case to be made that synthetic fragrances are the new secondhand smoke.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you think about it.
Yeah.
In your home, you can control your deodorants and your candles and your materials. But nowadays, basically everywhere you go, every restaurant, hotel, mall, casino, bathroom. So those are like the scents. Now let's think about what scents are. A lot of times there's those little machines pumping chemicals. And like, yeah, when you smell that little bit of lemon in the bathroom, newsflash, there's no lemons in it. But it also is people's personal care products. It's people's deodorant, colognes, perfumes, all that stuff. So get this. From my research, a huge part of the digestive enzymes and acids that get created in your gut, which are preparing for the foods that are about to enter, are due to your olfactory system and your ability to smell. The way fragrances and scents work is they do not remove and neutralize odors. They hijack your olfactory system so you can't smell things anymore. So let's think about what happens here. So you're sitting beside somebody with some Old Spice or some Speed Stick, and there's some perfume in the air, and now it's lunchtime. Your body cannot detect the foods that you're about to eat.
Well, it's kind of like this is a great point, because I don't know how many people listening have done much fasting, but whenever I fast, and then when I typically start eating again, and typically it's very pure. It almost always is very pure, but even less processed. It's just like, some steamed pears or something like that. It tastes differently. Even then, when you're fasting and your body gets in the purest state it possibly can get. So it makes total sense that when you're doing these chemicals that are in the air and impacting your olfactory system, you're immediately, in fact, I have, when you lose your sense of smell, you lose a great portion of your sense of taste. Anybody who's ever had a cold knows that.
Yeah. So think about this. So now your body cannot create the right digestive enzymes and acids that you need. So the highest number I've seen is potentially 50% of the gut process in preparation for the food is from your sense of smell. So now those fragrances are there. Your ability to smell is hijacked. Your gut has no idea what's coming in, and now your body can't absorb any of the nutrients. So it's causing people to be fat and to not get the nutrients, and they're already often eating poor quality food anyway. So if your body, the good news is, so I always tell people the one bad part of getting a Jasper is that you can become an air snob. Turns out there's a lot of science behind this. So your ability to smell, like the neurons in your nose, they fully can regenerate in 30 to 60 days, which is the cool thing about that is, so when people start breathing clean air in their bedrooms, they start becoming very aware of chemicals, odors, fragrances, scents, Ubers, Airbnbs, hotels. They're like, I'm starting to smell everything. Yeah, because of that clean air sanctuary that they have at home, because they're breathing in clean air, in that 30 to 60 day window, that olfactory system is firing on all cylinders again. Now they're able to start smelling food. So I never understood why people are having all these transformative experiences beyond just what I would expect from cleaner air, but the clean air is really supporting their gut. And so within that 30 to 60 day window, their ability to smell is working again, and now all of a sudden that's really improving their digestion, which is something that is brand new to me.
That's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. It's not something I've really talked about often with anybody, because I think that, most of the time the way our conventional medical system works is you isolate one area from the body and has nothing else to do with the other body. But there's no doubt that our sense of smell, I mean, your sense of smell is also connected to your brain. It's very deeply connected to our memories, that part of our brain that's tied to that.
How much scent therapy goes on. And that's often why the businesses are using scents in the first place. Sometimes it's to cover things up, but usually it's because they're trying to create some sense of calm, which is doing the total opposite.
Yeah, well, we all know this. I mean, I think about, so Chelsea and I, it's like, okay, when I think about when I'm smelling fresh grass, it reminds me of spring in Ohio where I grew up like playing soccer as a kid. When I'm smelling, food being grilled, it's reminding me of 4th of July, certain years. And so yeah, there is that deep connection there. So when you are smelling chemicals, it's affecting your gut. It's affecting your brain and your emotions. I mean, these are two systems for nutrient absorption, for mood, that are really being impacted in a pretty significant way. And I know quite a few people who they have a very hard time being around anybody that's wearing any type of chemical scent. Like on an airplane, that's an example. I mean, there's, if you sit somebody next to an airplane that uses just a large amount of perfume.
Been buying Primarily Pure in bulk and giving it to people. Because once I was wearing Speed Stick for 30 years. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I never smelt it on myself. Now I literally can smell it like 15 feet away.
Yeah.
Before I even get in the Uber driver, I'm like, nah, next one.
You know what's interesting? So like when my wife got pregnant with our first daughter, and now and it had the same thing happen when she had our second daughter, her sense of smell was greatly heightened.
Yes.
And you think about that because, I mean, that's a God-given effect that happens so women can better, smell a poopy diaper, smell if a child has...
Stay away from garbage. But also think about it's probably also to fine-tune, to help their digestive system work better and get more nutrients.
That was my next point. Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
So, you know Sachin Patel?
Yeah.
So I was sitting with him last week, and he was explaining to me these, and I was sitting there with other people who had lost 20, 30, 48 pounds, and very little of it was supplements, and very little of it was even telling people what to eat. It was simple things about how to eat. And one of those things was don't eat unless you're salivating. And that's what kind of sent me down this rabbit hole.
Well, by the way, this is why I've told people for a lot of years, as some other doctors who are experiencing this, don't chew gum. When you're chewing gum, you are actually using up your enzymes.
Makes sense.
That you won't have later for your food. Now, again, pregnancy is the one. If you're feeling nauseous, actually chewing gum will help you create enzymes that then calms. It actually helps your digestive system then. But for the most part, you don't want to chew gum unless you're going to be, well, you just don't want to chew gum because you're using so much saliva.
So I've started to take my food closely and take a deep inhale through my nose. And if I have like 3 or 4 things on my plate, I take 15 seconds for each one where I breathe in deeply through my nose and back out each food item. And I literally just feel the saliva pool up. Like, when you walk, you can smell good food at a distance, you begin to salivate. So I'm noticing if I'm in an environment where my sense of smell is weaker because it's a overly stimulating environment, or I'm outside, I slowly breathe each item of food in. And this was not intentional, but you instantly feel the saliva get created. And then I'm finding myself automatically eat much slower, chew more, and eat less. And this was not by design.
If you struggle with allergies, poor sleep, or just feeling off at home, you might not realize how much your indoor air quality is to blame. And unfortunately, most air purifiers don't actually clean the air. They filter a few particles, but they miss the mold spores, the VOCs, and even wildfire smoke that can trigger inflammation in your body. And that's why I personally use Jasper Air Scrubber in my own home, and I can honestly say the difference is incredible. Jasper's medical grade purification actually scrubs the air, not just filtering it. And you can feel the difference too. It's fresher, it's lighter, it's easier to breathe, and it's whisper quiet, so you forget it's even running. On top of that, filter changes take 30 seconds, no tools, no mess. If you want to support your family's health naturally, head to jasper.co/axe and use Axe to save $400 off your Jasper Air Scrubber. Again, that's JASPR.co/Axe to get $400 off your Jasper Air Scrubber today. Yeah. I'm thinking about anytime Chelsea and I are having a real high quality meal at home, or even going out to eat, and it's like you sit there and smell like really high quality extra virgin olive oil, or you're sitting there smelling the tomato sauce you made. There's something you do. You eat more slowly, you savor it more. And yeah, this is a really, really important part of digestion and breaking foods down. There's no doubt about it. And all this goes back to the conversation around our sense of smell. It's connected to our digestive system. It's connected to our brains. And we need to have clean air if we're going to be at our healthiest. Give for me a ranking of where our poorest air quality comes from in our homes that we need to be aware of. Like, what are the, is it paint on the wall? Is it chemicals on our floor? Like, what are the top 5 in ranking order that are most toxic for our health?
And just to start by saying that your indoor air, people think that of their home so separately from the outdoor air. Well, if it's summertime or wintertime, turn off your furnace and see how long until your home feels hot or cold. That air is coming in from outside. So your indoor air is not some special safe haven unless you have significant filtration in. So first and foremost, whether it's the rubber from the car, the tires, or the restaurants or factories or your neighbor's Roundup, it could, all that outdoor stuff, the pollen, it all comes inside, and it's not a problem outside, because outside you have nature's air purifier, sun, wind, rain, and trees. So outside we're fine. That's why we don't have a mold problem outside or a dust problem outside. That's why people love to go to the nature. Even if your eyes are closed and you're not visually taking it in, it feels good. Even going to, I need to go outside and get a breath of fresh air. It's like newsflash. That's not fresh air. That's just regular air, possibly regular city polluted air. It just allows people to remember how bad their indoor air is. So number one, the outside stuff that's not a problem outside when it has direct UV contact at all times and wind. And I'll also say, if you think about moving water, a stream, a pond, a river, a waterfall, moving water is quite clean water. When water stagnates and it becomes a pond, that's when you get the algae and the bacteria, and it becomes really sick, contaminated water. Air is the same. So the wind, when you're outside and you feel the wind on your skin, that is the free-flowing air currents. They're literally called air currents. It's the river outside, so that's why it's a lot cleaner. Inside, you have these walls and these doors and these windows and a tight structure. So the average American home is a pond. It's a stagnant pond. So when you leave for a week and you come back and you're like, it stinks in here. even if you leave the HVAC system, when you're not living in it and opening doors and windows, also our bodies just walking through the homes and our pets, we're constantly stirring the pot and turning it in from a pond to a river, which is why opening windows is so great, because it allows your home to be part of that natural ecosystem instead of this stagnant pond. So I just want to start with the outside stuff contributes to the inside. Then, yes, indoors, homes, it's the home itself, first of all. So it's your floors, it's your carpets, it's your adhesives, it's your paints, it's your furniture, it's the fire retardant in your furniture. Most things in a home were built in a factory. And then they supply chains are very efficient. So that couch or that chair or that mattress, it gets manufactured in a factory, usually overseas. Then it gets really tightly wrapped up, then shipped to a distribution center, sits there for 1 or 2 days, and then it's on the way to your home. So there's really no off-gassing process that takes place outside. I was actually at someone's house in Beverly Hills. She's a lot of Jaspers. I think 24 of them. It's a big home. And they have an entire massive garage that's finished, but basically they have like a holding bay. So when furniture comes in, everything off-gasses for a couple of months before it makes its way into their home. Most people don't do this.
Yeah, most people don't have 24 rooms to have 24 Jaspers. That's so.
It was a good reminder for me though of like, wow, this was someone who was really paying attention. So number one, that makes secondhand furniture. I wouldn't buy a secondhand couch or a bed or anything, but hard stuff, wood things, furniture that is already off-gassed, especially for a baby's nursery. If you can get that crib secondhand, or buy it 6 months early and leave the windows open to give it some off-gassing time. So it's just like all the furnitures, it's the paints, it's everything. And then because you have no direct sun or wind or anything, things like dust and mold become big problems as well. Now I did mold testing, by the way. I had a mold testing business for about 10 years, air and mold and all that stuff. So when people were sick at home and didn't know why, we'd go in and get to the bottom of it. If we would test someone's home for mold at 9 a.m. versus noon versus 7 p.m., the results would be wildly different.
Really?
Wildly different. So there's this idea that you're checking like a fixed thing. When you check your indoor and outdoor, you're always checking the outdoor mold and the indoor at the same time. You're also not supposed to check for mold within 2 days or so of any amount of rain, because you're going to have high levels of mold anyway. Nobody actually does this. So when I used to do air testing, we actually moved it to where we would do air monitoring. So we would leave our systems in there for a week and sometimes even a month, because it was not linear. I've always had a hunch that my blood work is probably similar too.
Listen, it's absolutely true. If you did a food allergy panel, whether it's IgG or kind of all of the a lot of those immunoglobulins, it's going to be different every day. A little bit different every day.
And like, is that person's HVAC system venting a lot right now, or is it stagnant? And it's sad and it's crazy, because once I had tested my first 50 or 60 homes, and I probably even knew even sooner than that, I ended up testing hundreds. The best mold detection system by far is me. It's a human. That's why mold dogs are still the best. Like, a human, if you're in touch with your senses and your olfactory health is dialed in, I can walk into a home and smell chemicals, VOCs. I can tell you roughly what the carbon dioxide is in a room. Just like I don't need a thermometer to go outside and tell me if it's warm or cold. It's like, oh yeah, you just check the temperature and then tell your brain, am I warm or am I cold? Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and people, and most people, depending on the degree, can tell something. Like, listen, have you ever been snow skiing, up in the mountains, and you're like, wow, I'm breathing in fresh air. Like Chelsea and I, we went to Park City twice this last winter and went snow skiing, and she went snowboarding, I go snow skiing. And we were both like, wow, like this is just amazing. And Nashville itself has great air. It's not like we're living in Mexico City or, LA in the summer, so it's, but even then, there's a difference.
So to sort of like wrap on the what indoor is causing the problem, it's a little bit of everything. And it's just the fact that if you have no sun, no wind, nature is not doing its thing for you. That's why, to me, air filtration is a necessity. Like, to filter your water and then buy organic and then breathe 11,000 liters of chemical-filled air every day, it just makes no sense.
Well, there's a lot of homes, too, where, again, they've used these high VOCs in the paint, and then they've got glue in the carpet, and with the floor, and then you're using household chemicals. And so it doesn't sound like there's just one thing. It sounds like there's all of these things.
It's like your water, right? Like if you test your water, if it's city water, it's always going to be overly chlorinated. If it's well water, there's going to be a bunch of bacteria. Yeah. No matter what, unless you're getting straight spring water, there's some filtration that you're going to want to happen living in a modern world between the water that you're being provided and how you drink it. And to me, air is the exact same. Yeah. And so and here's another new one that has emerged since last time we spoke. The amount of reviews that are piling up in terms of people who are no longer snoring.
Oh, yeah. It makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it wasn't even on our radar. And then we had a video of someone at a coffee shop. He came up to me. He's like, Mike, do you guys ever do testimonial videos? I'm like, guess we can. And he's on the top of our Instagram now. He's also a Mike. He had been going for 20 years. Thousands of dollars in testing, meds, allergists, everything. And as soon as they put one Jasper in their home, he hasn't done it since. And then when he travels, it's back. And then more and more reviews have been building up. So we have stories all the time where a husband and wife, sometimes in their 30s, usually mid to late 30s, it's usually the husband, he starts snoring. Within a couple of months, it's unbearable. So the person you love is stopping your ability to sleep peacefully. A couple months later, we have a sleep divorce on our hands. No longer sharing a bedroom. And I think that is the initial crack that can lead to a really rough marriage over a long period of time, not sharing a bedroom together. And they put the Jasper in, and they put it on fan speed 3. And this is big because I know a lot of your listeners are already Jasper people. If you already have a Jasper, the most important place it can be by far is your bedroom, fan speed 3. So when we're on fan speed, the first fan speed, we're getting the air twice as clean. Fan speed 2, 5 to 10 times. Once we're in that fan speed 3 range, we're talking 20 to 40 times cleaner air right away. At that level, that's when we have a clean air sanctuary situation. And that's when literally I don't have big numbers on it yet. We're going to do a snore study this year, but at least 30% of people who snore either stop snoring or their snoring is 90% reduced to the point where they're sharing a bedroom again. So when I got out of the flood and fire industry and started creating Jasper, I did not think we would be in the marriage business.
Well, I used to give this quote that the number one cause of divorce is bills, like financial issues. The number one cause of financial issues are medical bills that pile up. Like in terms of the greatest thing that is causing people to kind of lose all their money. And of course, there's always other cases of other things, but there's no doubt that poor health impacts your finances, which then impacts your marriage.
The loop, because you're sick, so you can't earn.
That's right. And then you just feel bad, so sometimes you're not as kind to your partner. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. I was mentioning this. So my daughter, who is allergic to dust mites, she started snoring. I mean, that was one of the things that she started doing, and then these swollen tonsils. And so for her, being able to fix that with her was just, so huge. Because a lot of times, like, I'm putting her to bed at night, and she'll wake up in the night because of snoring and not be able to breathe well, and then I'll go and sleep. So it does affect everybody. I mean, if you got a family person that's snoring or not sleeping well or sick, it does. It doesn't affect one person, it affects everybody.
So there's no claim here that says clean air cures snoring. For a lot of people, it's weight and mechanical, but for a lot of people, it is an air issue. And to think that you go and get a CPAP machine, a lot of people, the percentage of people needing them is skyrocketing. So you're buying a machine to force air down your throat, but nowhere in that process do they recommend cleaning your air.
Well, it's crazy. Now, I will say this. I think there's there's a couple things that are important. One, I'm a big fan of mouth tape. I'll also say this, though. If you are having issues with breathing because of an allergen that you're breathing in all the time or eating all the time, but more so breathing all the time, putting mouth tape on is not it. It just makes it harder for you to breathe. You're getting less oxygen. So if you have an issue like snoring or on a CPAP machine and you've heard about taking mouth tape, you should do that simultaneously. Wow.
Same with the nose tape too.
Yeah, it's the same with ultra clarifying. Well, let me say this. The nose tape, is not blocking your airway. I mean, mouth tape is literally blocking you from breathing in. So anyways, all that being said, we talked to a specialist she's an osteopathic physician who specializes in air and seasonal allergies. And she was like, mouth tape is great for a small percentage of the population, but really everybody should be both air filtering and mouth taping together. Because again, if you're just breathing less, but you're also breathing in all of this mold or pollen or things in your home, it can actually make you worse. And so you really want to be able to do both together. What percentage of people do you think, based on you going and testing hundreds of homes or thousands of homes for mold, what percentage of homes do you think have mold in them? That's
like 70%. It's as similar as water. Like, mold gets very taboo, but when we test the air outside always, there's a lot of mold outside. It's just not an issue outside because it's breathing. The sandwich only grows mold on it when you put it in the Tupperware box. So to think that you can have an airtight home that doesn't have mold issues, it doesn't work that way. It's like there's no... What percentage of ponds at the side of the road are going to be clean?
Don't have algae in the summer. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. What percentage of city tap water is not going to be overly chlorinated? It doesn't work that way. You have to filter the water. So when we test mold, when we test a home indoors, the air, and it's not about visible black mold always. It's like, what is the mold load? What species are there? But whether it's the mold or the VOCs, all of it, no matter what, it's almost impossible. Like, having clean indoor air without filtering it's almost like an oxymoron. Yeah. You really can't. Yeah. It's not possible.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It makes total sense. And I think for most people, as you've been sharing, you really want to be conscious of, again, look at your symptoms. If you're a person with brain fog, if you have stuffy nose whatsoever, if you snore, if you have seasonal allergies, this is contributing. Autoimmune disease, gut issues.
It's a big toxin load.
Yeah.
Like the 80-20 of health, like when you go into a doctor's office, naturopath, whatever, a water filter for your drinking water and an air filter for your bedroom gets you, that's the 80-20 in my opinion. Like, most of your toxin burden that's going to really impact you is going to be the air while you sleep and the water that you drink. We can go deeper down the rabbit hole, but that one clean stack can be fixed in the next 24 hours and instantly. Like, remineralizing water. There's a lot of extra layers in your shower, and we can go deep down the rabbit hole. But breathing with clean air and drinking clean water is it's the 80-20.
Yeah. And I would also say one of the things I've shared with patients is, start where you can. Let's say, for instance, you can't do your whole diet organically. Yes. Well, at least switch your meat and dairy. Let's say you can't detox your entire home. Well, let's cleanse the air in your master, whatever bedroom you need it in your main living area. Those are the two most important areas. And then filter your drinking water, even if you're showering in it.
Yes, exactly.
At least.
Sleeping air, drinking water.
That's right.
I'd love to tell you about the school, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Aria, she's 5 now. When she was 2.5, she went to her first school. Daycare, school, that kind of thing. And she was coming home congested all the time. Sick. And they kind of normalized it. They, as doctor, online research kind of thing. They're like, yeah, it's normal. Like, kids go to school. They're going to be sick all the time until they're like 5 or 6 or 7. They just need to get like every infection first. And my dad / air quality expert spidey senses were ringing loudly. Because I'm like, she wasn't in bubble wrap. We were traveling. We were doing things. She wasn't getting sick all the time. And I will also note this is what really got me inspired, because there was a study in Finland that was done where they put air purifiers, not even scrubbers like Jasper, but they put air purifiers in 50% of the classes in the schools, and they did a pretty substantial study. And the absentee rates in teachers and students dropped by 30%.
I mean, we need that badly. I will tell you, in the Tennessee area where I'm at, when kids go to school when they're younger, I mean, every kid is coming back sick constantly. And I'm sure the air quality in the rooms is terrible.
I switched Aria's school. I put a Jasper in the classroom, and she stopped coming home sick. Like a light. In most schools, if you attempted to design the most unhealthy environment possible, most schools are nailing it. So I heard about that Finland study, and that got me pretty inspired. And then there was the school in our neighborhood, which is like a 5-minute walk away. It's our little neighborhood school, was going to be sold. And it was going to be sold to a developer who was going to for sure knock it down and put up like 4 homes or a plaza. And we're like, you can't have a community without a school. And so we bought the school. about 4 months ago. We're going to be opening in next August. So it's called Kindling Academy. And the mission for the school, and we're running as a not-for-profit, the mission for the school is to create the healthiest school with the healthiest kids in the country.
Wow.
Putting 2 Jaspers in every class. We have whole building water filtration for their drinking water and their hand washing station. We have no toxic cleaning products whatsoever. All of the lighting, we found, we're still on our last couple vendors, but a lighting system that matches the intensity of the sun. So if it's a cloudy day versus a sunny day, the light will be the same as outside, basically. So it's all diffused, and the light's going to be shifting throughout the course of the day to make going inside and outside as unjarring as possible. The default state for the kids is going to be outside, so we have outdoor classrooms, and then we're building a perimeter of screened-in porches around the whole school. So even when it's Texas, it's Austin. So if it's too hot, too sunny, whatever, the kids can still be in a fresh air environment. And then we also got a incredible chef. He was going school to school revamping lunch programs. So everything's organic and local. So he cooks for all the kids and teaches them nutrition. And then we're starting with a supper club once a week. So the parents can come. And he's also specializes in fire cooking. So
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be cooking outside a lot. And then we got a 20-person sauna and a couple cold plunges, like a communal one. So when the parents, it's a community school. So it's going to start by having 60 children there, and it's going to be ages 3 to 9. So like I said, we're running it as a not-for-profit because the reason we're calling it Kindling, we're trying to kindle a movement here. So number one, we're going to be working with a couple doctors and scientists on having the highest standard for our data collection for absentee rates and symptoms, because we want to show that we can get the absentee rates down 50% is my goal. They got it 30% down in Finland with a small air purifier and without doing all this stuff and without addressing the food situation. I think we're going to get it for 50% or more. And then we're really treating it as a community thing. So the parents can, socialize before and after. And then we're going to be putting all the data online. So first of all, we're putting the profit and loss statement online, the income statement, because we want to pay the teachers more. And we want to show that you can have a school that can be, I think there's a lot of teachers and parents out there who are frustrated, but they don't want to go to like full lonely homeschool life. But like 3 moms and 2 teachers could really get together and start a really nice 40-person community school. And you could do it in a really healthy way.
I mean, by the way, I saw the number of homeschoolers is up to it's crazy. I want to say almost it was 5 million or something. It was absolute.
I think it's about almost 1 million in Texas.
Yeah. So it's a total of like 5 million nationwide, which is like 10 times what it was.
The big North Star here is so public schools are funded on attendance, which is why they don't want the kids traveling. They don't want you missing school. There's literally truancy laws around it because the schools are funded on attendance. So the big moment here is first of all, we're going to get many private schools cleaning their air. I'll tell you what we can do to help anyone out there right now. But if we can show the public school system that we can reduce the absentee rates by 20, 30, 40, 50%, it will be the financial incentives will be aligned. And then they can't afford not to have clean air, clean water, better lighting, better chemicals. If we can show that the public school system is where we can have a tremendous impact. So we're trying to align the incentives and show them healthy buildings means healthy teachers, healthy students, and for them, healthy profits, because you have to align to that one thing. And then now, it's very hard to work with public schools. But if anyone's listening and their kid is in a private school, especially like a smaller private school that has, 50, 60, 100, 200 kids or so, message me, email us at Jasper, and we will give Jaspers to every classroom in the school.
Wow, that's so kind. I'll tell you, you are such a generous person. I was speaking in Austin at the Health Optimization Summit this past year, and you sent me a Jasper to have in my hotel room while I slept there that night, and so that was incredibly kind. And I love what you're doing. It's so amazing. I want to say the last thing here I want to mention is we want to encourage everybody. Get clean air, get clean water, get clean food. Do everything you can to support your health in those ways. Those are, again, food, air, water. These are things critical for you and your family's health. I do want to say, in addition to getting good indoor air, just spend time more time outside as well. You know, one of the things that we did this year, this past couple of years, is we invested for our girls. She's almost 2 years old and a 5-year-old, and we bought a big a swing set, play set outside, and a trampoline.
Invest is the right word.
And our girls spend, from the moment they get home, they will spend hours and hours out on the playground, on the play set, and on the trampoline. And Chelsea and her out there with them. And it was such a good investment. So that's another thing too, just a good investment for your family's health, is things to do outside as a family. Chelsea and I also got so it's funny. So Chelsea bought an electric bike, one of these electric bicycles. I bought a regular bicycle. I might have to go electric because we're such a hilly area where we're at. And we got a tandem, for my 5-year-old attaches on the back of mine. So I'm working really hard because my 5-year-old's doing nothing, and I'm kind of pulling her up these hills, and Chelsea's when we get those, she's just cruising. But that's another thing we did. We got bikes. So we've been trying to be really proactive about what are things we can do to get our kids active outside, as healthy as possible, because all the studies on every minute your kid spends on social media, on a device, is taking from their health. It's robbing them.
And no kid outside asks for an iPad.
That's right. And every minute outside is getting your kids healthier.
I think so. I like how you use the word investments. That is highly accurate. And then two things I would stack on that we've done is, if you don't have it, buy trees, which I hope you do, shade. And what we got is a nice outdoor picnic table, and then a kid-sized picnic table. And then we just call dinner picnic.
Yeah.
And we've removed the forcing function to have this. My daughters are 5 and 3, and we got a little boy, he's 4 months. This idea of we all have to sit at the dinner like in the movies and have this Socratic conversation. They're 5 and 3. So we realized when we sit outside with picnic tables and toys, and we leave the food there, and then dinner time is an hour, we got this little thing that covers it in case there's bugs. They play a little, they eat a little, they play a little, they eat a little. And we hang outside. We're all outside. We got shade. We're eating. We're not having scents in our systems. We're breathing clean air while we eat. Also, I forgot to mention it earlier when you were talking about the mouth tape. It's a direct correlation between PM 2.5, which is the particulate that Jasper is going to filter out, the particles and the stuff in the air, and the inflammation of your airways. So directly, as PM 2.5 goes up, oxygen goes down. And even if it's 0.5%, a percentage here and there, that really adds up. So the more the dirtier the air, the more inflammation, the less air, the less oxygen. And it's a pretty bad loop, which really supports being outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the more time outside you can getting good clean air, the more time you can be indoors with clean air, the better your health is going to be. And I want to thank Mike so much for coming on today and sharing the importance of getting clean air. And by the way, I want to encourage you guys, if you guys have a school and they're willing to bring in a Jasper, take him up on this offer. Where can people reach out to you at?
It's free. Literally, if you just go to jaspr.co, what you do is you connect us with the school. We won't just send it to you. Connect us with the school. That way we make sure that they're good for maintenance. If it's a not-for-profit school, we'll give them free filters as well. If it's a for-profit school, then we'll give them the Jaspers for free with heavily discounted filters. But just basically email us and say, hey, I'd love to get Jaspers in my kid's classroom, in my kid's school. You connect us with the decision maker at the school, and we will make that happen. Some schools public schools are impossible to deal with. So smaller private schools who get it, that are already kind of health focused, and the Montessoris and the Waldorfs, those types of schools really get it and they really embrace it. And the reason we're able to do it is it's wild. The school puts in clean air. The kids stop getting sick. The parents start buying them for their home. So literally, even from a business perspective, there's nothing better we could do. There's no better marketing in the world than just giving your product away if it works to the people who need it most.
It's the principle of, just bless others. Look at serving others at first. And I love it. It's so good. All right, Mike. So where can people find out more about you and your incredible air filtration?
First and foremost, I hope everybody learned something today, whether it's, opening your window, being outside, and just thinking about the air connection to your gut and to your overall life. Water awareness is so much ahead of air, and my job here is to make people really pay attention to the air that they breathe. So we have a really big special offer for your audience today, and today is October 30th, almost Halloween. Wow. So Jasper is jaspr.co. Code AXE is $400 off. So it's about a few weeks before Black Friday. For anyone who's listening, last year at Black Friday, we got sold out by 4 months. So thank you for everybody who waited, but people who bought around Black Friday were waiting till February and March to get their Jaspers. As of today, October 30th, we have Jaspers in stock. We ship it out tomorrow. You get it in a couple of days. So for anybody out there who wants to try Jasper and have clean air at home, then your community is going to get the Black Friday offer a month early. So code AXE. We're going to keep the discount live for 2 weeks. It'll be $400 off. Actually, we'll just keep it open till the end of November, right through Black Friday. So code AXE is $400 off through the month of November. But by November 10th or so, will very likely be sold out. So if you don't want to wait and you want to get it this week, code AXE, $400 off. That's the biggest offer we ever have. Our mission is come, educate people, and then make a good offer. I only buy products often when there's a good deal, so I want to incentivize you guys the same way. And I hope you all learned something today.
That's great. Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on. And I wanted to bring you on because this is what we personally use in our house. And I love being able to actually see the particles on there. That's one of the coolest things about your filter. It's about the only one I know where you can actually see what's being, the amount of being filtered at that given time, which is...
And it has a lifetime warranty. So I know it's an investment up front, but we call it the last air scrubber you'll ever need to buy. It has a lifetime warranty. If it ever breaks, it's electronics. We send you a brand new one. You take the new one out of the box. You put the old one in the box. We even give you a prepaid shipping label, and we pay to have UPS come to your front door or apartment to pick it up. Because if it breaks, that's on us, not on you. So once you bought your Jasper once for a little over $1 a day, you have clean air for life. Guaranteed.
That's so amazing. Well, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in here to the Dr. Josh Axe Show. Remember, each and every week we're diving deep into the science and principles of how you can heal physically, mentally, and spiritually. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Remember, the number one thing you can do to support the show is subscribe. Some of our episodes have been... they have been shadow banned because we've been talking about a lot of controversial stuff, everything from, of course, cancer and autoimmune disease and natural cures. So if you're not subscribed, it may not show up on your feed, but if you do, it likely will, and that's a great support for us. And it also allows me to bring on just incredibly high-profile, wise guests regularly, and also sharing the episode. We're grateful for your shares, reviews as well. And thanks so much to Mike Feldstein for coming on today, the founder of Jasper. Everybody have a blessed week.